There's a quiet moment that arrives right before a big move. When the boxes are stacked, the past feels heavy, and the future is still wrapped in silence. And in that pause, there's a choice. Not about where you're going or how soon you'll unpack, but about what you're carrying with you. Because not everything belongs in the next chapter. Some things, though familiar, expensive, or sentimental, don't just take up space. They hold on to energies that silently reshape your fortune, block your flow, and pull you backwards when all you want is to step forward. It's easy to believe that prosperity lives in the size of your paycheck or the layout of your new home. But for those of us who've walked the deeper layers of Feng Shui for decades, the truth is simpler and quieter. Your wealth is shaped not by what you move into, but by what you leave behind. This isn't about superstition. It's about energetic common sense. The home is your vessel. It either amplifies your momentum or dulls it completely. And every item you bring is a message, a symbol. Will it support the future you're building, or will it replay cycles you thought you left behind? As someone who has spent over 20 years not only in the study of Feng Shui, but also in the grit and soul of real construction, laying the foundations of homes, guiding families through transitions, I've seen over and over how powerful this moment can be. Not because of what's new, but because of what you choose not to bring with you. And no, we're not here to beg for your subscription. We're not asking you to like or share this video just yet. In truth, we don't need fast numbers. What we truly hope for is that in the few moments you spend here, you receive something of real value, not just tips, not just knowledge, but a feeling of clarity, a breath of calm, a deeper alignment with your life. Today's video will feel familiar, not because the objects we'll explore are dramatic, but because they're hidden in plain sight. A dead clock, a broken fan, a pair of shoes that haven't touched pavement in years. And yet, these ordinary items may be the very reason why energy doesn't move in your home, why peace hasn't quite settled in, why luck seems to arrive, but never stays. These are the invisible threads that tangle your path, quietly. We're going to walk through these overlooked blocks one by one. And as we do, I invite you not just to evaluate your belongings, but to listen to what they're saying about your life. And if these words help you feel even just a little more in tune with yourself or your surroundings, then we've done what we came here to do. If one day you feel called to return, to journey deeper with us, know that the door is always open and we'll be right here waiting. So take a breath, center yourself, and let's begin, not just with objects, but with intention. Because the energy you allow into your home will echo into every room of your future. Section 1. Stopped clocks. The silent time trap. There's something strangely poetic about a clock that no longer ticks. It hangs there quietly, frozen, still, almost dignified in its silence. And yet, if you really listen, there's something unsettling in that silence. Because in a space that's meant to welcome momentum, life, and renewal, a stopped clock is a contradiction you might not notice, but your energy does. You walk by it every day, you stop noticing it, but deep within, your space does. The energy around you absorbs that message. Nothing is moving. Nothing is growing. Time has paused. And with that pause, something else begins to stall. Sometimes your career, other times your finances, or perhaps just that lightness in your day that feels harder to find. Coming from the introduction we just shared, where we explored how the invisible things we carry can shape the future we step into, this may seem like a small detail. But Feng Shui rarely shouts, it whispers. And a broken clock is one of the clearest whispers of energetic stagnation that lives in plain sight. You might tell yourself it's just decorative, that it's old but elegant, that someday you'll replace the battery or fix the mechanism. But days pass, months, years, and that unmoving dial remains, quietly suggesting to your subconscious that time stopped somewhere along the way, that maybe you've missed your chance, that progress is for other people, that your moment has passed. And you may never realize how deeply that suggestion has been etched into your space until you begin to feel stuck and can't quite explain why. In Feng Shui, clocks represent more than time. They embody the rhythm of life. They pulse with the flow of progress. They guide the tempo of your thoughts, your decisions, your ability to respond and move. When that rhythm breaks, it doesn't just affect your walls, it affects your mind. There's a reason why hospitals, offices, airports all keep time visible. It gives us orientation, forward motion, a sense of alignment with the unfolding of the day. And yet, in your own home, your sanctuary, you may have unknowingly placed a symbol of delay, of frozen potential, of halted growth, right at eye level. And the question worth asking isn't whether the clock still works, it's whether the story it's telling still belongs in your life. Does that story sound like it's too late? Nothing is changing? There's no rush because nothing new is coming. And if so, what else in your life might be mirroring that same message? Sometimes we think stillness is peace, but in reality, it may just be a signal that movement has stopped for too long. There's a vast difference between mindful presence and energetic stagnation. And a broken clock, while seemingly harmless, is a subtle anchor that can keep you locked in a loop you are trying to evolve out of. This is why I often tell my clients, before you focus on the new, clear what's silently holding the old. And this is especially true during transitions like moving house, changing jobs, or beginning a new phase of life, because every new beginning has an energy gate, and a stopped clock placed at that gate is like closing the door before you even step through it. One client I worked with, let's call her Jenna, had inherited her father's antique wall clock. It was grand, made of deep cherry wood, heavy with sentiment. It hadn't worked in over a decade. She placed it proudly near her front door in her new condo, thinking it added a touch of history and warmth. But over the next year, she faced strange blocks, missed opportunities, repeated project delays, moments where time never seemed enough or always ran out. We walked through her space together, and I gently asked, "When did this clock last keep time?" Her eyes filled with surprise. She hadn't thought about it that way. We made a small shift, either repair it or release it. She chose to let it go, respectfully. Months later, not only did her schedule open up with ease, but she also landed the promotion she'd been passed over for twice before. Coincidence? Maybe. But in Feng Shui, energy moves the moment you choose to honor it. So now, let's bring it closer to home. Is there a clock in your space right now that hasn't moved in weeks, months, maybe even years? Have you passed it so many times that you don't even notice it anymore? And could it be that your life has started to reflect that same rhythm or lack thereof? These are not accusations, they're reflections. Gentle questions meant to guide you inward, because the home is not just a place you decorate, it's a place that mirrors the state of your inner life. You don't need to throw everything out. If a broken clock carries emotional value, honor it by giving it new life. Repair it. Let it tick again, not just for function, but as a signal to your life. I'm ready to move forward. And if it no longer serves, even if it was expensive, even if it was a gift, perhaps it's time to let it rest, because holding on to a symbol of halted time just because it looks nice is like keeping a sailboat in your living room and wondering why you never feel the wind. Everything in your space speaks, even in silence, especially in silence. And clocks, more than most, define that conversation. So when you prepare to step into a new home, a new chapter, or even just a new season in your life, ask yourself, am I bringing momentum or am I bringing pause? And that simple question may be all you need to realign everything else that follows. Because the truth is, it's never too late to restart the clock. Not just the one on your wall, but the one inside you. Section 2, old shoes. Carrying a worn-out path, there's something deeply symbolic about shoes, more than we often acknowledge. We tend to think of them as accessories, functional items to protect our feet from the world. But in the quiet language of Feng Shui and the architecture of personal energy, shoes are something much more. They are the objects that quite literally touch the earth on our behalf. They form the bridge between where we've been and where we're going. So when you carry worn-out, broken, or forgotten shoes into a new space, you're not just bringing footwear, you're bringing the memory of every place those shoes have taken you, every emotional detour, every stalled step, every unfinished journey. And if you find that life has been hard to move through lately, if opportunities slip, energy feels drained, or it seems like you're always walking uphill, it's worth looking down. Not metaphorically, but truly look down. What have you been standing on? Because in Feng Shui, shoes represent motion. They carry the symbolism of direction, momentum, and the road ahead. And anything that influences your steps will ultimately influence your destiny. A pair of shoes left untouched for years, cracked at the sole, dusty in the corners, hiding in a closet that's barely opened, can quietly trap the feeling of pause. You may think it's just clutter, just something you might use someday, but someday has a way of stealing the movement from right now. You're planning for motion you're not truly committed to, and your home can sense that contradiction. And this is where your progress gets silently tangled. Think about this. You wouldn't attempt to climb a mountain in shoes that no longer fit. You wouldn't walk into a job interview with soles that are falling apart. You wouldn't dance freely in shoes that remind you of pain. But when you bring these items into a new living space, especially at a time of transition, you're doing exactly that energetically. You're telling your new space, I plan to move forward, while holding tightly to the very things that slowed me down. This is not about judging your past, it's about recognizing the weight you're choosing to carry forward. And the weight of a shoe isn't in its material, it's in its memory. A shoe can carry the echoes of moments you'd rather forget. It may have witnessed endings you never fully processed. It may have walked through periods of hardship that you've never spoken aloud. So when you keep those shoes, when you let them sit near your front door, or bury them under layers of storage, you're not just storing leather or rubber, you're storing energy. And energy doesn't go dormant just because you stop noticing it. It seeps, it speaks, it becomes the atmosphere in which your future has to bloom. There's also something worth noticing here. The way we cling to old shoes out of guilt or imagined frugality. They were expensive. They might come in handy someday. I wore them to that important event. These thoughts may feel practical, even sentimental, but from an energetic standpoint, they are loops. They keep you in patterns of overholding, over-justifying, and under-releasing. And when you overhold something from your past, you inevitably underinvest in your future. Your home becomes a museum instead of a magnet. You start curating your history instead of cultivating your potential. And you may find yourself wondering why it's so hard to feel excited, free, or open to new things, when in truth, your physical environment is still echoing messages of hesitation and attachment. This section connects seamlessly with what we explored in the previous part about clocks. Where a broken clock freezes your relationship with time, old shoes freeze your relationship with direction. One is about when you move, the other is about how you move. And when both are misaligned, what remains is a life that spins in place. You may feel busy, you may be doing 100 things, but none of them seem to take you anywhere new. That's not laziness, that's energetic looping. It's walking in circles with shoes that were never meant for this chapter. And perhaps more than any other item, shoes represent personal thresholds. The job interview, the hospital visit, the farewell at the airport, the first day of school. Shoes carry stories, yours and others. But when those stories are soaked in pain, loss, stagnation, or unfulfilled hope, what are you asking your next steps to build upon? Can you really create a solid path forward on top of memories that still feel unfinished? Of course, not all shoes must be discarded. That's not what this is about. This is not a minimalist purge. This is about alignment. Only keep what moves with you, not what keeps you stuck. Only wear what represents the you you're becoming, not the version of you that was surviving. The shoes that still carry life, that still fit you not just in size but in identity, those are companions. The rest are anchors, and sometimes the subtlest anchor is the one you never feel until your spirit begins to sink. So ask yourself, not what these shoes cost you in money, but what they may have cost you in movement, in clarity, in readiness. Have they helped you walk your truth, or have they kept you tiptoeing around the things that truly matter? And if you're holding on to shoes just in case, perhaps it's time to redefine what just in case means. Is it preparation, or is it fear in disguise? Energy doesn't lie, and neither do the soles of the shoes you walk in. They either echo the path of purpose or the hesitation of history. So when you open that box, that closet, that underbed storage, and pull out those pairs you haven't worn in years, don't just look at them. Listen to what they're telling you, and then, with presence and gentleness, decide whether they truly belong in the next steps you are ready to take. Because there's no point in dreaming of a new journey if your foundation still clings to the terrain you've already outgrown. And when it comes to energy, every step counts, not just the first. Section 3, Worn Out Clothes, Emotional Dust Traps. There's a quiet truth that lives in the corners of every closet, one that most of us have felt but few ever name. It's not the dust or the disorganization that's the real problem. It's the way certain garments hold on to emotions long after we've stopped wearing them. Not all weight is physical, and not all clutter is visible. Some of the heaviest energy in our homes hides in the sleeves of a sweater we haven't touched in years, in the collar of a shirt we used to wear during harder times, or in the folded fabric of a dress that once made us feel less than enough. It's not the item itself that's holding us back, but the version of ourselves that still lingers inside it. This isn't about fashion, it's about frequency. Just as the shoes we wear guide the pace and path of our lives, the clothes we choose to keep silently define how we see ourselves in the world. We wear them not just on our skin, but through our energy field. And long after we've outgrown a shirt and size, we may still be carrying its story and spirit. The breakup hoodie, the job loss blazer, the dress we wore when we felt unseen. These items become energetic bookmarks, frozen in time, reminding us of a feeling we no longer want, but somehow haven't released. So the question isn't, does it still fit? It's, does it still fit the life you're trying to grow into? Clothing is one of the most intimate forms of memory we own. We sweat in it, cry in it, sometimes bleed in it. We laugh, grieve, travel, hide, and heal inside layers of cotton, denim, and wool. And when a piece of clothing has absorbed enough emotion, it doesn't just become fabric, it becomes a feeling. That's why you can open a drawer and feel inexplicably heavy, even if everything looks folded and neat. It's not disorganization, it's emotional residue. The unspoken past lingering in what you thought was just storage. In Feng Shui, clothes carry the energy of personal identity. They reflect the relationship you have with yourself, your self-worth, your self-presentation, and your willingness to evolve. Holding on to damaged, stained, or overly worn clothing may seem harmless, even frugal. But on an energetic level, it's a declaration of hesitation, of doubt, of emotional anchoring. You're saying, maybe I'll go back to that version of myself. Maybe I haven't truly left that chapter yet. And your environment responds accordingly, shaping itself to reflect the identity you keep reinforcing through your belongings. Let's think more deeply. If you're trying to build a life that feels more aligned, more peaceful, more abundant, can that vibration truly settle into a closet full of garments tied to pain, anxiety, or the belief that you're not worthy of something better? Or do those pieces slowly pull your frequency down, reminding you on some quiet level that comfort doesn't come without struggle, that looking good always came with judgment, that success was never something you wore comfortably? And what about the clothes that are simply not you anymore? Not because they're ruined, but because you've outgrown the version of yourself who chose them. How many pieces are you holding not because they bring joy, but because you feel obligated to keep them? Because someone gave them to you? Because they cost too much to part with? Because they belong to a story you haven't given yourself permission to end? These are not clothing decisions. These are identity negotiations. And when you carry them into a new space, you don't just pack a suitcase, you pack your hesitation. You may feel like you're being cautious, practical, smart, but is it possible that caution is actually just fear, dressed up in reasons that sound responsible? Is it possible that holding onto a closet full of versions of you that no longer align is the very thing that makes it hard to feel at home in your own skin, even in your own home? If we carry emotional imprints in our clothes, then cleaning out a wardrobe isn't just an organizing task. It's a process of emotional renewal. Letting go of clothing that carries sadness, insecurity, or depletion isn't wasteful. It's wise. It's the same as letting go of thoughts that no longer serve you, of roles you've outgrown, of patterns you've healed beyond. A garment isn't less valuable just because it no longer fits. It had its time, it served its purpose, and now your life is asking for something different. Not necessarily newer or trendier, but lighter, truer, more aligned. And if you're wondering how something so sad, so ordinary, so tucked away could possibly shape something as significant as your energy, it's because energy doesn't respond to size. It responds to symbolism. A torn sleeve says, I settle. A stretched collar says, I bend too far. A garment that brings a pang of regret says, I still carry that weight. Multiply that by 10 or 50 or a closet full, and it's no wonder that clarity feels distant and joy feels thin. This doesn't mean you need to live with only 10 pieces or force yourself into minimalism. It means every item in your space, especially those that touch your body, should be a reflection of your worth, not a reminder of your wounds. The clothing you keep should affirm who you're becoming, not trap you in who you used to be. And the moment you shift that intention, even just slightly, your home begins to breathe differently. Your mornings feel lighter, your decisions feel clearer, your relationship with yourself softens into something more honest. So maybe it's not about style, maybe it's not even about appearance, maybe it's about resonance. Does this garment carry the frequency of peace, self-respect, and growth? Or does it vibrate with anxiety, contraction, and the feeling of being not quite enough? This is the lens I've shared with every client who asks how to make their space more supportive. Because Feng Shui isn't about placing lucky charms or rearranging furniture on a whim. It's about removing what obstructs, releasing what no longer loves you back, and surrounding yourself with items that reflect who you're becoming, not who you had to be to survive. So if you find yourself hesitating, ask gently, not, will I wear this again? But does this still support the life I'm ready to live? And let the answer guide you, because energy moves in circles, and everything you keep, you invite. In some invitations, it's simply time to cancel. Because healing is not just an emotional process, it's a spatial one. And the fabric of your home is made of the stories you choose to let stay. Choose them with the same love you're learning to offer yourself. Section 4. Broken electronics. Disconnect in disguise. It's easy to overlook them. Those old electronics tucked away in corners, stacked in storage, or still occupying space on your shelf as if they're quietly serving a purpose. A television that hasn't powered on in months, a fan with missing blades, a remote with corroded batteries, or a computer that no longer boots. These aren't just forgotten gadgets, they are fragments of unspoken disconnection, symbols of energy that once flowed but no longer does. And in a home that's meant to nourish movement, clarity, and connectivity, their presence tells a story that goes far deeper than simple dysfunction. Up until now, we've explored what happens when time gets stuck, when direction falters, and when identity is blurred by outdated garments. But now we step into a different realm, the flow of communication, circulation, and power itself. In Feng Shui, electronics are not merely machines. They represent the veins of energetic interaction within a space. They reflect how information moves, how intentions spark, how ideas circulate. And when that flow is interrupted by a device that no longer turns on, no longer responds, no longer connects, the home mirrors that disconnect in subtle but powerful ways. Think of your devices not just as tools, but as conduits. When they're healthy, energy moves. When they're broken, energy stutters, or worse, stops altogether. The effect isn't always visible. You might not notice it in the moment. But over time, a non-functional TV becomes more than visual clutter. It becomes an energetic blind spot, a zone where your home no longer responds to you, where your intentions don't fully land. A broken fan doesn't just stop cooling a room, it stops circulating qi, the life force that keeps everything fresh, moving, alive. A defunct speaker doesn't just fail to play music, it symbolizes unheard expression, missed communication, emotional silence. And in a world where connection is already fragile, where so many people quietly struggle to feel heard, seen, or aligned, why would we keep symbols of further isolation so close? Is it convenience, sentiment, or is it something more unconscious? A subtle surrender to the idea that some things just stay broken. Because if that belief exists in the objects around you, it may begin to echo in the patterns within you. Let's ask an uncomfortable question. When something important in your life stops working, do you fix it or do you adapt around it? Do you face the gap or do you learn to live without the function, pretending it was never essential to begin with? Because that decision, repeated often enough, becomes a mindset. A faulty printer becomes just something you don't use anymore. A cracked screen becomes manageable. A disconnected device becomes something you'll get to later. And all the while, your home is registering that choice, shaping itself to that signal. This doesn't matter enough to restore. But what if it does matter? What if these silent objects are quietly training you to accept disconnection as normal? You may not hear it clearly, but your environment speaks through what it supports and what it allows to decay. A dead battery may seem like nothing, but spiritually, it represents a power source you've stopped charging, a power you've stopped expecting. And when you normalize that enough times, you stop noticing when life stops responding to you the way it used to. Feng Shui teaches us that form follows energy, and energy follows intention. If the form is broken, the intention gets lost. You may still try, you may still want things to flow, to feel aligned, to move with grace. But if your surroundings whisper resistance, if they echo pause, if they project delay, your efforts get tangled. And that's when you begin to feel exhausted for no clear reason, creatively blocked, emotionally foggy, or even spiritually out of range. So now the question becomes, what is the cost of keeping things that no longer work? Not in dollars, but in vibration. What is the cost of seeing a broken lamp every Monday and deciding silently to do nothing about it? What is the cost of storing away that pile of electronics you never touch, convincing yourself that one day you might need them? While today, they silently erode the flow of energy that would otherwise support your clarity? This is where Feng Shui meets grounded practicality. Broken electronics not only interrupt the metaphorical flow, they interrupt the literal one. They carry dust, they generate visual chaos, they weigh down shelves and outlets. But more importantly, they train you to tolerate fragmentation. And when you tolerate fragmentation long enough, you start to feel incomplete, even when everything else looks fine on the surface. The home becomes disjointed, the mind becomes restless, and the vision you once had for your life begins to fade, replaced by patterns of getting by, pushing through, or waiting until it gets worse. This isn't about throwing everything away. It's about reclaiming your relationship to function. If something is repairable, breathe life back into it. If it's truly beyond revival, let it go with gratitude, but let it go. Because what you allow to surround you is what your future will lean on. And no strong future is built on tools that no longer respond. Broken electronics are not neutral. They are energetic static, and static doesn't just block, it distorts. It takes a clear signal and fills it with noise. And over time, that noise becomes your norm. But clarity, insight, creativity, these things require open circuits. They require clean lines, functioning connections, tools that serve, not drain. If your television, your computer, your microwave, your music system, if any of these are sitting in your space as dormant relics, then consider what that dormancy might be seeding in your life. And no, this isn't about perfection, it's about participation. Does your home support your communication, or does it echo silence? Does your environment help you activate, respond, express, or does it mimic, neglect, delay, shut down? Because these questions, though subtle, begin to shape every other part of how you live, how you relate, how you move. Sometimes the fastest way to restore energy is not to add more, but to clear what quietly confuses it. In broken electronics, those small are among the most consistent sources of blocked flow in modern spaces. Not because they're evil, not because they're inherently bad, but because they represent promises unfulfilled. Connections dropped, motion denied. In a home that's meant to spark your alignment, don't surround yourself with objects that forgot how to respond. Because the more you do, the more you'll feel like life is happening in the background, while you wait for something to reboot. And maybe that's something isn't the device, maybe it's you, maybe it's your clarity, maybe it's the part of you that's ready to plug back in, not just to electricity, but to your sense of power, purpose, and possibility. Because energy, like connection, only flows when it's honored. And sometimes honoring it begins with one simple act: removing what no longer works. Section 5, Secondhand Items, the emotional echo. There are objects in our homes that feel harmless, practical even. A gently used sofa you got at a discount, a vintage mirror that looks beautiful on the wall, a bed frame passed down from a relative. These things seem convenient, sentimental, even resourceful. But beneath the surface of wood, metal, fabric, or glass, there's something far more potent: that most people never consider. Because while these items may not carry your memories, they absolutely carry someone's. And energy, unlike dust, doesn't need your permission to linger. It simply does. Whether joyful or sorrowful, vibrant or heavy, the imprint of past experiences lives in the very objects we invite into our homes. This brings us to a subtle but vital truth in Feng Shui, the reality that every object has an energetic residue. It absorbs what happens around it, just as skin absorbs sunlight or fabric holds scent. And just because you didn't witness those moments doesn't mean they're not now part of your environment. A mattress that once supported a person during years of illness. A sofa where tension, arguments, or grief unfolded. A mirror that has reflected someone else's daily life, silently soaking in the patterns of their emotion, self-image, and energy. These are not just objects. They are recordings. And the energy they carry doesn't reset simply because you move them into a new space. Let's pause here and turn the perspective. If someone walked into your life today and offered you their emotional burden to hold, would you say yes? Would you let them store their fatigue, their grief, their anxiety in the corners of your home? Likely not. And yet, when we bring secondhand furniture into our space, especially pieces that were deeply lived in, we may be doing exactly that. Not by choice, but by unawareness. Not out of negligence, but out of the quiet habit of treating things as empty simply because they appear clean or useful. But usefulness is not always the same as alignment, and cleanliness is not always the same as energetic clarity. A couch may be spotless and yet still hold the weight of past arguments. A chair may be sturdy and still carry the energy of someone who sat in silence, sadness, or fear for years. A dresser may store your clothes while silently echoing the pain of someone else's past. And the truth is, you may feel it, even if you never name it. A heaviness in a room you can't explain. A restlessness that doesn't match the visual space. A discomfort that rises only when you sit or sleep in certain areas. This is the emotional echo of secondhand items, the invisible residue that lives quietly but shapes the tone of your entire space. And while not all pre-owned furniture is harmful, the energy it holds must be acknowledged, honored, and when possible, cleansed or released. Because your home is more than walls and furniture. It's an extension of your nervous system. And when that system is clouded with unresolved echoes from lives you've never lived, your body responds, even when your mind doesn't understand why. Some might say this sounds abstract, that it's impractical to avoid all used furniture. And that's true. Life often calls for flexibility, but flexibility without awareness becomes unconscious consent. It's not about perfection, it's about permission. Have you given your space permission to be clear? Have you asked whether the objects inside it are truly yours, not just in ownership, but in essence, or are you quietly living inside someone else's energy and calling it home? Now here's where we return to something deeply human. Most of us carry some belief that it's wasteful to let go of things that still work. That if an item is intact, we must accept its presence. But function is only one dimension. Frequency is another. And in Feng Shui, frequency always wins. Because even the most beautiful object can become a source of depletion if its frequency doesn't match the life you're trying to cultivate. So what do? Not everything needs to be discarded. Some secondhand items can be rebalanced, renewed, made energetically neutral, or even positive. But only if the cleansing is intentional and the decision to keep the item is made from clarity, not obligation. Sunlight is one of the most ancient and effective natural cleansers. It burns through stagnant energy and brings movement to that which is held too much. Incense, especially when passed in circular motion around a heavy object, can break up energetic residue and recalibrate its presence. Salt, either in small bowls or gently wiped on solid surfaces, draws out what the object is no longer meant to carry. But let's not romanticize all things. There are certain objects, especially those deeply personal, like used mattresses, intimate chairs, or antique mirrors, that may never fully release what they have absorbed. In these cases, it may not be worth the effort to neutralize. Sometimes peace is more valuable than practicality, and investing in something new becomes less about money and more about permission. Permission to surround yourself only with things that truly match who you are now, not who someone else once was. Energy is like scent. You can't always see it, but it travels, it clings, it settles into corners. You wouldn't wear a stranger's cologne every day and pretend it didn't change how you felt about yourself. So why live with objects that still carry a stranger's energetic fragrance? You may never know their full story. You don't need to. What matters is whether you feel completely at home in your own space, whether the silence in the room feels peaceful or heavy, whether you feel alone or accompanied by things you didn't invite with intention. This is where Feng Shui isn't just about flow, it's about sovereignty. Is this truly your space? Or does it still belong in subtle ways to people you've never met, but whose stories linger inside your bed frame, your chair, your mirror? And if so, what would it feel like to finally clear them out, not just physically, but energetically? What shifts might occur in your sleep, your conversations, your emotional clarity, when your environment reflects only your life, your energy, your now? Not every object deserves a second chance. Not every story belongs in your living room. And when it comes to energetic alignment, clarity often begins not by adding something new, but by releasing what doesn't belong, no matter how well it seems to fit. Because fitting in and feeling right are rarely the same thing. So as you look around your space today, ask softly, not, does it still work? But does it still serve? And perhaps even more importantly, is this truly mine to carry? Let the answer lead you to the version of home that's been waiting to breathe freely again. Section 6, Rusted Metal Tools, the Decay of Drive. Sometimes what slows us down isn't what's missing, it's what's been left untouched for too long. In the quiet corners of your kitchen drawer, in that jar filled with forgotten utensils, or in the depths of a dusty cabinet, you might find something that no longer functions as it once did. A knife with a dull, corroded edge, a pair of scissors that no longer cuts clean, a rusted cooking tool that clings to its former use but quietly drags your energy downward every time you reach for it. These may seem like minor inconveniences, but in the language of Feng Shui, rust is not just a chemical reaction, it's a symbolic one. It reflects decay, decline, and the erosion of momentum. And by the time rust appears, the story is already old. Rust is the visible sign of something that's been neglected, often out of habit, familiarity, or simply because it still technically works. But just because something works doesn't mean it works for you. And in Feng Shui, tools that have lost their sharpness or integrity don't just underperform, they quietly reshape your environment's energy and your personal motivation. They sit in your space as unspoken permission slips to delay, to tolerate dysfunction, to keep things as they are, rather than moving forward with clarity. Let's trace this back to the deeper meaning. Metal as an element in Feng Shui governs precision, strength, focus, and decisiveness. When it's healthy, it brings structure. When it's corroded, it weakens resolve. And when that corrosion begins to show up in the most vital areas of your home, like the kitchen, a space that symbolizes nourishment, warmth, abundance, its effects ripple far beyond the surface. A rusted knife doesn't just signal poor upkeep, it becomes a metaphor for hesitation, for delayed action, for dreams that are slowly dulled by distraction and wear. You don't need to be a chef to understand this. Think about the last time you used a tool that wasn't fully functional. Did it make the process smoother or more frustrating? Did it help you move faster or slow you down in small but consistent ways? Now imagine your life filled with such subtle obstacles, and you'll begin to understand how energetically taxing it becomes to live in a space where your tools have given up before you do. This extends to more than just the kitchen. Scissors you use to open packages, tools you once used for creative projects, clippers, screwdrivers, metal frames, all of these hold intention, motion, and direction. When they rust, your sense of initiative begins to rust with them. It may not be dramatic, but it's cumulative. One day you delay fixing something. The next week you avoid starting that idea. Over time, your entire environment begins to mirror not just your patterns, but your pauses. And if you're not careful, those pauses become permanent. Let's also acknowledge the physical aspect. Rust is not just symbolic, it's unhealthy. It introduces bacteria. It weakens structure. It can even pose safety risks in the most unsuspecting ways. So when you hold onto a rusted object out of sentiment or avoidance, you're not just keeping an old item. You're compromising both the energy and the hygiene of your space. And the kitchen, more than any other area, demands a clear, vibrant energy flow. This is where you prepare nourishment, where transformation happens daily, where raw becomes cooked, where effort becomes support. Why would you allow decay to sit silently in a place that exists to sustain you? And then there's the emotional layer. Every time you use a rusted or dull item, something inside you adapts. You begin to expect less. You stop reaching for excellence. You make do. And in doing so, you subtly reinforce the idea that this is enough, even when it isn't. This mindset doesn't stay in the kitchen. It moves into how you approach relationships, money, creativity, even rest. You normalize half-functioning systems. You call it being practical. But is it really? Or have you simply absorbed the energy of your tools and stopped realizing it? Of course, there will always be those who say it's just a knife or it still works fine. But Feng Shui isn't about utility, it's about alignment. Does this item support your energy or does it slowly drain it? That's the real question. And when you answer it honestly, you'll begin to see that replacing a rusted item is not an expense. It's a restoration, not just of function, but of momentum. Some things can be cleaned, polished, brought back to life. That's a beautiful choice when it's possible. Vinegar, baking soda, even natural oils can sometimes restore the strength of metal, sharpen its edge, bring back its shine. But if the item resists renewal, if it remains dull, fragile, broken at the core, then the decision to release it becomes not a loss, but a declaration. A message to your space that you are no longer making room for what doesn't fully serve. Because the truth is, what you tolerate in the drawer is often what you tolerate in your day. And Feng Shui begins not with massive changes, but with small decisions. The kind that say, I choose sharpness, I choose clarity, I choose tools that respond to my effort, not resist it. In your hands, metal should feel strong, reliable, responsive. When it rusts, it tells you that something has been exposed too long, left unattended, forgotten in its purpose. The same can be said of many dreams, many goals, many parts of ourselves that get left in the back of the drawer. And maybe, just maybe, when we bring attention to these tools, when we restore or replace them, we're not just clearing physical rust, we're reclaiming parts of our own drive that we didn't realize had gone dull. So ask yourself, not what this item used to do, but what it does now. Does it still empower your process, or does it quietly add friction to every step? And if it no longer serves, why is it still part of your path? Because when metal rusts, your momentum corrodes with it. And clarity, true clarity, begins when you choose to hold only what holds you back up. Section 7. Expired food, dead energy in the fridge. Not everything that looks intact is truly alive, and nowhere is that more quietly dangerous than in the corners of your refrigerator, the forgotten shelves of your pantry, or the freezer drawers filled with good intentions turned to ice. Because while food may be physical nourishment, it's also energetic communication, and what you choose to keep, store, or ignore in this space speaks volumes about your mindset, your relationship with abundance, and your subconscious beliefs about survival. This may seem like a simple matter of housekeeping. Toss what's expired, restock what's fresh. But in Feng Shui, food is not just sustenance. It's a symbol of wealth, vitality, and trust in the ongoing flow of life. And when that food is expired, frozen past recognition, wilted beyond use, or collecting dust in a can that hasn't been touched in years, it doesn't just signal neglect. It signals fear, a subtle message that says, I don't trust there will be more. And when that message repeats across your kitchen, your home center of nourishment, what begins to deteriorate isn't just the quality of your meals. It's your energetic relationship with enoughness. Let's look closer. Why do expired items remain? Is it forgetfulness or something deeper? Perhaps it's that small voice that whispers, don't waste it, or you might need it later. And while those thoughts appear responsible on the surface, they're often rooted in scarcity, not stewardship, because real nourishment isn't about hoarding, it's about flow, about trusting that what you need will arrive again when needed, about allowing space in your kitchen for fresh energy to enter instead of clinging to the expired echoes of what once was. And it's not just the food itself, it's the energy that forms around it. A fridge filled with expired goods may still be full, but it is energetically empty. It holds volume, not vitality, weight, but not wealth. And that vibration begins to echo into other areas of your life. Suddenly, finances feel sluggish. Inspiration feels stale. Even health and digestion may begin to mirror the stagnant, dead weight being stored at the heart of your home. Feng Shui doesn't require mystical thinking to be effective. It simply invites you to look at what your space is reflecting back to you. An expired food often reflects a fear of not having enough, coupled with a resistance to letting go. This is where your fridge and pantry become mirrors. Are you making choices based on trust or on the trauma of previous lack? Do you believe nourishment is something you deserve regularly or something to be rationed and feared? When you open your refrigerator, does it feel like an invitation or a burden? These are not just questions about what you eat. They're questions about how you live. In working with families over the years, I've noticed a clear pattern. Those who struggle with financial momentum often struggle to release expired items, especially the maybe still usable ones. It's a mindset loop. This could still be worth something, even when it clearly isn't. And that same thought echoes into how they run their business, make decisions, handle clutter, and even manage relationships. There's a fear of waste, yes, but underneath that fear is a deeper one. Fear of emptiness, fear of release. And so they hold on, not to food, but to the idea that scarcity is safer than letting go. But you can't invite abundance into a space that's already filled with what no longer feeds you. Just as you can't taste nourishment from something that's lost its life force, you can't build a thriving future on top of decayed resources. The expiration date is not just a safety marker, it's an energetic boundary. It's the item's way of saying, I've served my purpose, please make space for what's next. Even the act of cleaning out your fridge is symbolic. It's a clearing of mental fog, a physical affirmation that you're no longer choosing from fear, that you're making room not just for food, but for freshness, flow, and faith. And that kind of clarity always ripples outward. You begin to notice that your meals taste better, that you're cooking more intuitively, that your appetite for new experiences returns, that financial opportunities don't feel so delayed. It's not magic, it's momentum. The same way stagnant air becomes breathable when windows open, stagnant food energy becomes fertile again when space is reclaimed. Let's also talk about frozen food, especially meats and seafood that have been buried for months, if not years. These items are the frozen anxieties of the home, packed away just in case, forgotten, frostbitten, often hidden behind layers of newer things. But just like emotional suppression, these items don't disappear. They change state, but not impact. They create a quiet coldness in the kitchen, symbolically numbing the core of the home's vitality. And often they're the hardest to throw away because they look fine or cost too much or could be used someday. But that someday rarely arrives. And in the meantime, these items leach energetic cold into the heart of your household. There is a reason your kitchen is tied to the earth element in Feng Shui, because it's where grounding happens, where nourishment meets fire, where life is prepared and shared. And cold, expired, forgotten food deadens that fire. It smothers the warmth your home is meant to offer. It dims the light that hospitality depends on. And slowly it turns the kitchen from a space of joy into a space of quiet resistance. So the question becomes, is your fridge feeding you or freezing your flow? Is your pantry a source of power or a storage of past fears? When you reach for food, are you choosing with clarity or sifting through choices you no longer resonate with? And what would change in your life if every item in your kitchen truly supported your body, your energy, and your belief that there will always be more? Not excess, not hoarding, but enough. Real, nourishing enough. The kind that feeds not just your hunger, but your sense of peace. It starts with simple choices. One can at a time, one freezer drawer at a time. Not from guilt, not from shame, but from the quiet decision to align what's in your home with what you now know you are ready to receive. Because you deserve a space where everything inside it supports your vitality, where your food feels like a promise, not a leftover. And when you honor your space with that level of care, life begins to honor you back. Not because the fridge is full, but because the energy is finally alive. Section 8, Dusty Tools, Cleaning the Wrong Way. Some things in life appear so helpful, so essential, so harmless, that we forget to question the role they actually play. And cleaning tools are a perfect example. We reach for them with the intention of purifying, resetting, clearing out the unwanted. But what happens when the very object you use to cleanse is already saturated with the past? What happens when your broom, your mop, your vacuum, tools meant to remove energy, are quietly soaked in the very stagnation you're trying to clear? This is one of the most overlooked contradictions in home energy. We clean to restore balance, but rarely do we pause to ask whether our tools are actually carrying that same balance within them. In Feng Shui, tools that touch every corner of your space, especially those used for cleansing, carry a powerful energetic signature. And when they're old, overused, and left unrefreshed, they begin to reverse their function. They no longer purify, they spread residue. They don't sweep away, they swirl around what should have been released. And slowly, what was meant to help you feel lighter begins to make your home feel heavy. Imagine this. You take a mop that's been used hundreds of times, maybe still damp from last week's cleaning, and you run it across your fresh new floors. The floor may look shiny, but what did you really just spread? Memories, dust, old energy, the residue of stress from past weeks, the emotional tone from a space you've already outgrown. It's no different than drying off after a clean shower with a dirty towel. You may feel fresh, but what you're wrapping yourself in is anything but. This isn't about being fussy, it's about understanding energetic intention. In Feng Shui, everything you use to clean becomes a channel. And if the channel is clogged, the energy doesn't leave. It recirculates. That's why you may find yourself mopping more often, vacuuming more deeply, but still feeling that the space is off, dull, or stale. You've moved the energy, but you haven't transformed it, because the tools you're using are still echoing the very things you're working so hard to release. Think of your vacuum cleaner. It collects the debris of your everyday life: hair, dust, food, dead skin cells, emotional residue. And unless it's maintained, emptied, and refreshed, it becomes a moving archive of everything you've been trying to clean away. Now imagine bringing that same vacuum into a new home, hoping to start fresh. What are you really bringing with you? A fresh tool or a capsule of everything unresolved from your last chapter? The answer often explains why new spaces don't feel quite as new as we hoped. And then there's the broom, a symbol that shows up across cultures, often tied to rituals of release and transition. In Feng Shui, a broom isn't just for sweeping, it represents the clearing away of stagnant energy. But when that broom is worn, frayed, matted with dust, or stained with past spills, it loses its power. Worse, it may become a trap, a net for holding on rather than letting go. You sweep and sweep, but the outcome feels murky. There's no lightness, no clarity. That's because the broom no longer moves energy, it just moves particles. So what's really happening here? We assume cleaning is about action, but in Feng Shui, cleaning is about alignment. Are you aligning your tools with the result you seek? Are you choosing instruments that support clarity, or simply repeating motions with items that no longer carry your intention? And the most revealing part? It's not just the effect these tools have on your space, it's the message they send to your subconscious. Every time you reach for a dusty old mop, you're reinforcing the idea that cleaning is a burden, not a ritual. That clearing is something to get through, not something to revere. Over time, this dulls your connection to care, to clarity, to reverence for the home as a living, breathing mirror of your life. But you know this already, don't you? You've likely felt the difference between using a fresh cloth versus a crusted rag. You felt how satisfying it is to sweep with a new broom, how easily the energy lifts. You felt the friction of trying to vacuum with a filter that's long overdue for replacement. These aren't just cleaning experiences, they're feedback loops. Your home is telling you exactly how to move, but only if you listen. So the real question isn't, is this broom still usable? Or does this mop still function? The real question is this tool still a partner in my clarity? And when the answer is no, it's not a loss, it's a sign. A signal that you're ready to clean not just with motion, but with meaning. Some tools can be refreshed. You can wash mop heads, clean vacuum filters, comb out bristles. And that act alone of restoring the clarity of your instruments sends a powerful message. I care about the quality of what I release and what I invite in. Other times, replacement is the wisest choice. Not because you need to consume more, but because you recognize when something's energetic, life has run its course. A tool that has served well deserves to rest, because you wouldn't use an old sponge to clean a sacred bowl. You wouldn't cleanse your body with water from a stagnant pond. So why clear your home's energy with tools that no longer hold light? Cleaning is a sacred act, not glamorous, not urgent, but essential. And the energy of the tools you use becomes the energy you live with. So ask yourself this: what kind of energy are you spreading when you clean? Is it fresh, alive, honoring the present? Or is it stale, habitual, still echoing the past? Because even your broom can sweep away your blessings if you're not careful. And sometimes the most powerful shift in energy begins with the humblest tool, used with clear hands and a clearer heart. The rice cooker and jar, hidden magnets for prosperity. It's not just about what you remove, it's also what you welcome. A home cleansed of blockages is like soil cleared of weeds, but for life to thrive, something must be planted in its place. And in Feng Shui, some of the most quietly powerful seeds are found not in the grand gestures, not in ornaments or declarations, but in the humble daily tools that nourish us, like your ice cooker and your rice jar. These two objects may seem unremarkable at first glance, but they carry a frequency that reaches deep into your home's energetic roots, the frequency of abundance. Rice has been a symbol of prosperity and sustenance for generations across cultures, not just because it feeds, but because it represents continuity. A full rice jar says, there is always enough. A warm rice cooker says, this home is prepared to nourish. And when these items are cared for, filled with intention, and placed with reverence, they don't just serve your body, they affirm your life's stability. Let's think practically. Every time you cook rice, every time you open the barn, you're engaging in an energetic ritual, one that echoes your relationship with provision. Are you cooking with care or with rush? Are you reaching into a jar that feels abundant or scraping the bottom without realizing it? These small, unnoticed moments add up. And Feng Shui teaches us that where your attention goes, your energy flows. When you overlook the core tools that feed you, you begin to overlook your core values: safety, sufficiency, comfort, generosity. A cracked rice jar is more than a container issue. It's a symbol of financial leakage. A rice cooker with peeling coating or unreliable function is more than a kitchen nuisance. It reflects a home struggling to hold warmth. These are not exaggerations. They are energetic truths, because the kitchen is your home's engine of sustenance, and the rice cooker and jar are its pulse. And what do you become when your pulse weakens, skips, or forgets its rhythm? But the beauty of this section is that these tools aren't just symbols, they are also activators. Unlike decorative elements, they're used, touched, interacted with regularly, and that makes them incredibly potent conductors of energy. Every time you open the rice cooker, you're not just preparing a meal, you're affirming, this home continues to thrive. That's why it's powerful to enhance these items with simple rituals that invite flow. Placing a red envelope under the cooker, dropping a clean coin into the bottom of the rice jar, filling it to the brim, not with excess, but with confidence. These acts seem small, but they set a tone. They become affirmations your home repeats back to you every single day. Let's shift to another perspective, one that often goes unnoticed. If a visitor were to open your kitchen and see your rice jar nearly empty, your cooker chipped and neglected, what story would they silently hear about how this home treats prosperity? Now consider what story you are hearing without even realizing it. These items reflect your beliefs about provision. Not just whether there is enough, but whether you expect that enough to continue to expand to nourish not just today, but tomorrow. In Feng Shui, you don't just place objects. You assign them a role in your energy system. The rice cooker becomes a metaphor for thermal consistency, the ability to hold warmth, keep something valuable simmering, available, comforting. The rice jar becomes a metaphor for accumulated wealth, not always in the form of money, but in trust, readiness, groundedness. And when either is neglected, broken, or forgotten, it becomes harder for abundance to land because there's no container to hold it. But perhaps the deeper message is this: these tools do not need to be expensive to be powerful. What they require is respect. A simple working cooker, a clean, uncracked jar. These speak louder than gold-plated decorations or symbolic wealth charms, because they are lived with. And in Feng Shui, what you live with always carries more weight than what you display. So here's the invitation, not just to replace or restore, but to reconnect. When you touch these items, remember their symbolic weight. Let them remind you of your capacity to provide, to receive, to host abundance in both tangible and subtle forms. And if either of them no longer reflects that readiness, be it from wear, damage, or neglect, then the shift begins not with guilt, but with the decision to honor what they represent. Because prosperity isn't only attracted through big gestures. Often it arrives quietly, through the daily rituals we barely notice. The opening of a lid, the scooping of rice, the steady simmer of something warm in a space that feels prepared to receive. And when those rituals are infused with clarity, care, and respect, wealth doesn't just visit, it stays. There's a moment, just before the first night in a new home, when the boxes are still unpacked, the walls still undecorated, and silence wraps around every room like a question. What story will this space tell about you? And the answer doesn't come from the architecture or the square footage or even the neighborhood. It comes from what you chose to carry in. Not just physically, but energetically. Because whether you realize it or not, every object that enters your space is a reflection of your beliefs, your readiness, and your relationship with the life you're trying to create. And most people, without meaning to, bring in exactly what they're trying to leave behind. They carry broken clocks that hold them hostage in old timelines. They pack worn-out shoes that still walk the path of struggle. They fold up clothes soaked in past identities and silently hang them in fresh closets. They drag broken electronics that symbolize disconnection. Couches saturated with stories they never lived. Rusted knives that cut deeper than dinner. Fridges filled with the energy of scarcity. And cleaning tools that no longer purify but recirculate. And then they wonder, genuinely, painfully, why the new life they're trying to step into still feels strangely old. What most people don't realize is that the things they keep aren't neutral, they're agreements. Subconscious affirmations of what they believe they deserve, what they expect to experience, and what they're willing to tolerate. And when those things are broken, expired, overloaded with someone else's emotional residue, or simply neglected out of habit, they don't just sit quietly. They anchor you softly and visibly to a version of your life that no longer matches who you're becoming. But the opposite is also true. When you move with clarity, when you choose with intention, when you clean with respect, when you curate what enters your new space with the same care you'd offer a child or a garden, you change the trajectory of everything. Your space begins to support you, to echo your strength, to mirror your vision instead of your past. And suddenly, success isn't a chase, it's a resonance. Opportunities feel closer. Relationships feel lighter. Creativity doesn't have to be summoned, it arrives. So as you step into any new chapter, don't just ask what fits, ask what uplifts. Don't just ask what still works, ask what still serves. And more importantly, ask whether the life you're packing for is the one you truly want to live, or simply the one you've gotten used to carrying. Because moving isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's symbolic. And sometimes the lightest suitcase, the one filled only with intention, clarity, and care, is the one that carries the most abundance. And your new home, whether it's already built or still in blueprint form, is listening. Let it hear who you truly are, through what you choose to bring and what you finally decide to leave behind.